Luke chapter 7. We hear of Jesus resuscitating a little boy in the city of Nain. It's one of, again, 3 resuscitations in Jesus' ministry. Maybe there were others. Nain is a city that's about 10 miles or so southeast of Nazareth. Now, why is this story in Luke and no other gospel? My theory, as much as you want to run with it, is that Luke, who's not even a follower of Jesus during his life, is a companion of Paul, and we know that Paul spends 3 years in prison in Caesarea later on in his ministry. So Luke is not, of course, in the prison, and where would Luke be during this imprisonment of Paul? My suspicions are he would have been in Judea, waiting for Paul, as it were, maybe supplying him with food and so forth. But there would be a perfect opportunity for Luke to interview Mary, and Mary, of course, would have been living in Nazareth, near this city. So maybe she was the one who gave Luke the information for Luke 7 and the story of this boy. What's interesting to catch, of course, is that Jesus touches the coffin, which is, in Jesus' opinion, something that he could do, not as the Son of God, but any human. Touching a coffin, of course, made you ritually impure. But I think Jesus, again, is trying to show that ritual impurity is just not a thing. And we don't need to worry about it, as it were. What's interesting is the people, when they see this event, of course, the rising from the dead of someone like this, they say, God has visited us. Notice they don't say, well, he must be a god. They're simply calling to attention that God, Yahweh, has come to them as people. And I think that's reminiscent of Malachi 4, where Elijah, who also raised someone from the dead, is prophesied to come before the great and terrible day of the Lord. So I think it's just looking at, or people recognizing that Yahweh must be on the move. He must be involved in Israel now that Jesus is able to raise someone from the dead. The other story in Luke 7, very, again, important, is a woman who comes to Jesus. She's called a sinner in the text. Again, remember the word sinner, Old Testament now bleeding into the New Testament, that is a category of a certain kind of person. It's not a word that we splash across all people in the New Testament. She's a sinner because of her lifestyle, presuming, again, a prostitute or something like this. And so when she anoints Jesus' feet and touches him, they are incensed, or the Pharisees in the room are bothered by this. And again, notice that the touching of Jesus to her, or vice versa, Jesus is not opposed to that in the sense that it's not a ritually impure thing in Jesus' mind. He just has a higher view of what love and mercy can look like on a practical level than the concern about being ritually impure. Well, but anyway, we wonder what she was wanting from Jesus, right? My recommendation would be that her lavish love for Jesus and sorrow and crying is showing that she's a loyalist to Yahweh. That's the only way the story really works, in my opinion. So she's a loyalist to Yahweh, but she's in a position of needing forgiveness in her mind for her lifestyle. Because again, Yahweh is a moral deity. And she understands that. And she now recognizes Jesus as the Messiah, or the Son of God. And so she wants to lavish upon Jesus a practical means of showing loyalty to not just him, of course, but Yahweh through him. And that's why Jesus then says these words that are only in here, or this location of all the Gospels, your faith has saved you. Now again, faith, let's remember that word there, that's the noun. The verb is believe. It's the same word in Greek. Faith and believe are the same word, verb and the noun. And in 8:12, we're going to hear believe and be saved. And in 9:24, Jesus will say, he that loses his life for my sake will be saved. So notice again, this is talking about loyalty here. That's not just a intellectual thing at all, but a loyalty of a person toward Yahweh, principally, but shown upon Jesus. So this is where, again, and let's close with this, when Jesus said her sins are forgiven, that word in Greek actually is lavishly to give. To give lavishly is used in Philippians 2 for God lavishly giving Jesus all exaltation and glory. Philippians 2:9. It's also used many times for the word just for forgiving. So Colossians 3:13, we ought to forgive one another. And it's the same word. I think what we have to take from this story, and frankly to venture into the New Testament without this idea, would be a perilous thing, and that is the idea that God needs payment in order to forgive, I think is blown out of the water by this story here. When you have that quick parable of Jesus saying to the group that's watching this story, what about these two creditors? And they owe different amounts, but the person who's owed freely forgives them both. It shows, and that's the point of the parable, that payment and forgiveness are two very, very different things. So we ought not ever bring into the story of what Jesus will someday do for us, or how the concept of forgiveness works in the Bible, that payment is necessary for it. It is not. Forgiveness can happen because someone loves and someone is merciful, and that's the story really given here, again by Luke, in how a woman is not just saved by her faith, but she is forgiven as well.